welcome to a TLDR boss guide for Kazzara, because I'm the nerd who actually reads patch notes. Kazzara is the first boss in Aberrus the Shadowed Crucibl and has one phase. Hellsteel Carnage goes off when she reaches 70, 50 and 30% health, dealing a hit of raid wide and a new ability with each cast. At 70% she starts dealing ticking raid wide damage, at 50% she throws out swirls and the ticking damage gets faster, and at 30% she throws out more swirls as well as the previous swirls and speeds up the ticking again. These are going to be a healer CD moment, and the last part of the fight might get a little spicy. Now on to the main fight. Hellbeam is a random frontal on someone, so move out of the way before you get f***ed. Dreadrift targets around 3 players, makes them deal splash damage and drop a pool on the floor, so drop them at the side. Rays of Anguish also targets around 3 players, spawning a laser above you that follows you and drops shit on the floor until you lead it into one of the pools. When it hits the pool, the beam stops, but the pool just becomes shit on the floor, so you can't all use the same one. And the pools don't disappear, so this is why you drop them away. Or drop it under the boss and watch the last beam chaser trying to find it like a headless moonkin. On Heroic, the beams get angry if you don't get rid of them, speeding up and dealing raid-wide damage until you lose them. And after each Carnage cast, you'll get an additional drift and beam to deal with. For healers, Wings of Extinction is a hit of raid-wide and a dot on everyone, and it does a knockback so don't get pushed into the fun floor stuff. And lastly for tanks, Terror Claws is a tank hit plus your favourites, a dot and a large damage taken increase, so swap after every hit. You can also face her away if you want to pretend there's something else to do. Now make sure to kill her before you run out of room or you get overrun with lasers. And that's it for Kazzara. Congrats on your kill. Phase 1 has 2 bosses, a Shadow and Fire Elemental. They both have a 50-yard aura that gives you a dot, and the Shadow aura also reduces your health by 1% per stack, so make sure they're far enough away from each other that the raid isn't getting both of them. And on Heroic, if they're too close, they'll do 200% more damage. The Essence of Shadow casts Coalescing Void, a big purple swirl with fall-off damage, so don't stand near it. Umbral Detonation makes a few players pulse damage around them and then drop a pool, so drop them on your favourite caster. And Shadow Spike is just a tank hit of magic damage. On Heroic, it'll also cast Shadow's Convergence, spawning big purple orbs at the edge of the room that move towards the boss, so don't get hit. The Human Torch casts a meteor in front of him that deals split damage, so have your melee soak it if you brought any. Swirling Flame shoots a few pillars of fire on a random player to dodge, and Flame Slash is just another tank hit with nothing extra. On Heroic, he also casts Molten Eruption, a few smaller soak circles for your ranged DPS to play chicken with to see who will actually soak it. Phase 2 will start when either of the bosses reach 50% health, when they merge together to form the Shadow Flame. They throw out a bunch of swirls just before they merge, so don't get hit. The Shadow Flame health is based on the combined total of each boss, so you want to bring them down as close to 50% as you can before phasing them. This phase has similar abilities, but now gives everyone a stacking debuff, dealing damage and reducing health by 1% every 10 seconds. Gloom Conflagration is a big soak in front of the boss, similar to phase 1, but you can't immune skip it or you'll all fucking die. After the soak, it'll do a suck in with fall off damage, so once you're done soaking, run away and don't get sucked. Blistering Twilight makes a few players drop a pool and throw out tornadoes, so move out before it goes off and don't get hit. Withering Vulnerability is a physical tank hit, but also increases Shadow Flame damage taken. And Shadow Flame Burst is a frontal, so face the boss away. Just don't take them both, or the boss will tell you to sit, kid. On Heroic, he casts Convergent Eruption, small swirls, but this time they spawn orbs around them when it goes off, moving towards the center, so once you've taken the load, get out quick. And that's all for the Amalgamation Chamber. Congrats on your kill. This fight is available after the Amalgamation Chamber and has 3 phases with 1 boss each phase. For tanks, surprisingly, this is a slightly different mechanic than the usual and happens in every phase. Melee hits will give you a stacking dot, and the only way to remove it is to touch someone else who has it. So take as many as you can survive, tank swap, then chest bump to clear it. Or your DK can tank the entire fight and flex on weaker specs. When you do clear, you'll do a hit of raid-wide damage and give everyone a dot, and the burst is always the same, but don't clear too often or your healers will turn to red mist. Now for the bosses, and the first is Neldris, the Chadthir. Rending Charge is a Ramonia-style slash targeting 3 players and dashing between them, dealing a big hit, a bleed, and a knockback. It'll hit anyone in the path, so have them move out of the raid so you don't become a bowling strike animation. Massive Slam is a frontal on someone, so move out of it. And Bellowing Roar is fall-off damage from the boss, so
run away, little girl! Run away!
After Neldris is dead, you'll get Thadrian, the Last of Us cosplayer. Volatile Spew is just swirls, so don't get hit. Violent Eruption is channeled raid-wide damage, so a healer CD moment. And Unstable Essence is a ramping dot that needs to be dispelled. When you dispel it, the target explodes, so have them move out of the raid first and it jumps to the nearest player and starts again. This will take a bit of management for the rest of the fight, and healers will need to spot heal whoever has it. On Heroic, they also spawn an ad when you dispel them that will chain cast raid-wide damage, so everyone needs to swap and kill them. They also join in when the boss casts his channel raid-wide, so try not to dispel someone right before the channel or you'll probably all fucking die. After Thadrian is Rionthus, to make people rage tweet about not having this customization for their Drakthir. Disintegrate targets a few players, damaging and slowing them and making them deal splash damage for far too long, so if you get it, move out of the raid. Temporal Anomaly spawns a small bronze Halondrus orb for you to play goalkeeper with. If it reaches them, it'll give them a big damage shield, so assign someone to keep it away. And last up is Deep Breath, to make every Drakthir feel inadequate. The boss flies into the air and does a big breath back and forth through the room, so don't get baited by the end of the first one and get the fuck out quick. And that's it for the Forgotten Experiments. Congrats on your kills. This fight is one of 2 available after killing the first boss, and is the ad fight of the raid. The main boss summons waves of ads throughout the fight and jumps between these 2 platforms, so you'll need to split the raid. Heavy Cudgel is a frontal on the tank, so face him off the edge, and it gives you a stacking damage taken increase. It's not that big, but you'll have to survive until he leaves. It also spawns rocks you can pick up and take to the edge to knock off an ad climbing up. At 100 energy, or about every 50 seconds, the boss jumps to the opposite platform. He damages and knocks away anyone near where he lands, and sends out lines of swirls to dodge, so don't stand underneath him. The ad waves are easy to deal with, but there are a couple of things to watch out for. Mystics will drop from the sky and cast Molten Barrier, dealing raid-wide damage until you break it. They also cast Magma Flow, a dispellable dot, and Lava Bolt, which needs to be interrupted. Huntsman ads target players with blazing spears, dealing splash damage followed by an explosion, so get out of the group and don't stay in the swirl. Obsidian guards cast a channeled raid-wide, which is mainly a healer problem, and on Heroic they also cast Volcanic Shield, a big laser on a random target, so don't stand in front of them when it goes off. And wall climbers will just try to get to the large door at the back of the room. They can be CC'd and taunted, but if they attack the door, they'll trigger a huge hit of raid-wide and a dot on everyone. And on Heroic, this is basically an instant wipe. Last in phase 1 is Arbalest Fire, which is just large swirls to dodge. When the boss reaches 15%, he runs to the door himself. He heals for 10% and deals raid-wide damage every 5 seconds, so kill him before your healers melt. His Cudgel attack now makes everyone do splash damage, so spread out before it goes off. And at 100 energy, he attacks the door, dealing split damage between anyone who soaks it. Each soaker reduces his energy, taking about 4 or 5 to get it to 0, and if you don't have enough, the lethal raid-wide will go off. On Heroic, it'll also give you a damage taken increase, so assign groups to soak it. And that's it for the Zaqali invasion. Congrats on your kill. Rashok is available after defeating the Zaqali invasion and has 2 phases, a main phase and a drain phase. If he reaches 100 energy, he wipes the raid, so you need to drain it by dragging him to the middle of the room. This triggers a conduit to suck him dry while he does a few abilities until he reaches 0 and returns to the main phase. But you can only drain him 3 times until the crystal explodes. Searing Slam targets a player, then the boss jumps on them, dealing splash damage and dropping a big lava vortex. The vortex spits out lava balls like a white hat Mario, so you'll have to dodge it for the rest of the fight, and on Heroic they do it even more. Drop them at the edge of the room, but if you put one too close to another, it'll explode and you'll probably fucking die. Doom Flames are soaks that give a dot, so pop a defensive or cry for a healer. Charged Smash is a large soak in front of the boss that deals split damage and gives him energy. The energy amount is reduced by the number of players hit, so have as many soakers as possible. Shadow Lava Blast is a giant frontal on someone, so don't be too far away like your average Moonkin outranging healers. And for tanks, the boss has a combo of 2 abilities which increase the damage taken of each one. Don't take the same one twice unless you enjoy playing Floor Simulator. And they both hit harder than Existential Dread at 1 AM, especially on Heroic, so crack out those healer personals. When his energy gets too high, drag him to the middle and start the drain phase. He deals raid-wide damage for the entire duration, so if your healers are on the weaker side, drag him in a bit earlier. On Heroic, this damage ramps up over time, becoming even more of a healer problem, so save your CDs for near the end. He also sends out lines of swirls for everyone to dodge, so you get to listen to all your casters bitching about having to move. And on Heroic, they're basically a one-shot. When he hits 0 energy, he deals another hit of raid-wide, and you'll need to drag him out soon, because if he stays there too long, he'll deal lethal raid-wide damage. Then it's back to the main phase to start all over again. And that's all for Rashok. Congrats on your kill. Zskarn is available after killing the previous Endwing bosses and only has 1 phase. The fight is simple, but you can get overrun pretty quick, as the arena floor is made of fire traps that activate throughout the fight, creating large fire pools. The boss activates 3 at a time, with 2 in melee and 1 further away, so tanks will need to move the boss when they appear. On normal, if you stand in one while you finish your cast, you'll get a short but heavy stacking dot that can be dispelled by healers. On Heroic though, you'll have to take the full damage, so healers will be playing whack-a-heal, as this will happen a lot. Every so often, the boss summons golems that'll run to a trap to try and activate it. They can be knocked, slowed and stunned, so CC and kill them, and you can loot their corpses for an item that turns off the traps in awkward places. For tanks, Searing Claws is a stacking dot from the boss hits, so swap before you die, but shrapnel bombs are more important for you to deal with. The boss throws out 4 bombs that need to be soaked, or you'll probably all fucking die. When soaked, they deal a large hit of tank damage with a dot, and you can immune them, but they spawn regularly and can be far away. Manage swapping the boss between bomb soaks and hope your off-tank survives. And don't try to be the nice little DPS by soaking one for them, or you'll probably fucking die. On Heroic, he also casts Unstable Embers, making a few players pulse AoE damage, so move out if you get it. And for healers, Blast Wave is raid-wide damage with another heavy dot that also has a large pushback to test your spatial awareness. At 100 energy, the boss makes one of the statues at the edge of the room breathe 3 waves of fire, getting bigger each time. Don't get caught out thinking it's only got 1 load. Each cast activates an additional statue, and they're always the closest ones to the boss, so you can bait which ones you want. Or helicopter him in the middle to be a toxic shit. Clear some traps to make dodging this easier, and kill him before they all activate at once. And that's all for Zskarn. Congrats on your kill. Magmorax is available after killing Zskarn and only has one phase. His energy bar acts as an enrage timer, as when he reaches 100 he deals increased damage and ramping raid wide until you all die. The fight is a big DPS check and mainly revolves around dropping and soaking magma puddles. These expand over time, but standing in them soaks them until they disappear, so for once actually do stand in the pools. It does hurt, but not as much as being a Guardian Druid this expansion. Molten Spittle targets 3 players and makes them drop a magma puddle, so if you get it, move away. On normal, either have whoever dropped the pool soak it back up if they can last longer than a hunter, or drop them together, have everyone stand in them to insta-soak it and just heal through it. On heroic, while you soak a puddle, you get stacks of a dot, and if you reach 25, you'll be one-shot. It only lasts 10 seconds, but it does mean that you can't sit in one. The puddles also soak slower, so assign a couple of ranged DPS to be super soakers and help out. And tanks keep the boss out of the puddles as he deals raid-wide damage and gains energy if he's in one. For healers, igniting Roar is a hit of raid-wide with a permanent stacking dot on everyone, but it also throws out missiles to soak. If you miss one, it'll drop a magma puddle, so unless you like stutter stepping out of moving magma, you should probably go and soak it. Overpowering Stomp is a big raid-wide and a massive knockback, so position yourself to not go off the platform. Blazing Breath is a frontal on a random target, so don't stand in it. And for tanks, Incinerating Moors is a standard tank hit with a stacking dot and damage taken increase. Swap before you die, but you'll be more focused on positioning the boss to not be in puddles. And that's it for Magmorax, which is easier said than done, so congrats on your kill. The Echo of Neltharion is available after killing Magmorax and has 3 health-based phases. In each phase, the boss creates walls in a star pattern throughout the room that damage anyone standing where they spawn, so they can be broken by a few abilities, but are remade when the boss phases. Rushing Darkness targets a few players and throws them away, damaging and silencing anyone between them and the boss. They break any walls they hit, giving the raid a stacking dot per wall, so don't break too many at once. For tanks, Calamitous Strike is a tank hit with a damage taken increase and a large knockback, and again, this will send you through the walls. Swap before you die, but at least you get to be a Wrecking Ball. In phase 1, Volcanic Heart makes a few players explode, so move out if you get it, and it gives you a dot, so don't stand on top of each other. And Echoing Fissure is massive damage around the boss with a large hit of raid wide, so move away, and healers pop a CD if you need. It leaves behind a pool, so try to drop it at the edge, and when he casts again, it'll cast on every pool left behind. At 70%, there's an intermission where the boss channels some raid-wide damage with swirls, followed by a larger hit at the end, just to keep the healers busy. In phase 2, the boss summons ads, which stop him dropping below 40%, so you need to kill them before you can phase. They each have a damage shield, and when you break it, they deal raid-wide damage until they die, so kill them one at a time to be nice to your healers. On heroic, Corruption is a debuff on a few players that makes them hostile, so the raid can kill you accidentally on purpose. Only corrupted players can attack the ads, but when their shield breaks, they become targetable by everyone. Rushing Darkness still happens, but tanks now get Sunder Shadow. The boss pulls a Doctor Strange and knocks you out of your body, dealing a big tank hit, then shoots your body back at you, breaking the walls and dealing more damage. The extra damage is based on your missing health, so make sure you get topped off and pop a defensive so you aren't flattened by your own ass. And while you're a ghost, you can move through the walls for tactical positioning. Volcanic Heart happens same as phase 1, as well as some more swirls to dodge, and Umbral Detonation is a large raid-wide hit that increases with each cast, so phase him before you all get goobered. At 40% with no anti-life, you'll start phase 3. Throughout the phase, portals appear that spawn a bunch of void ads that let everyone pad their meters. Standing under the portals does hurt, but it also protects you from Ebon Destruction, a one-shot cast that removes the portals with people hiding in them. Get rid of as many portals as you can so you don't get swarmed, and on heroic, the ads get bigger over time, so kill them ASAP. You still get Rushing Darkness and tanks get Calamitous Strike from phase 1, but all that's left is to kill the boss before you run out of portals, and the one-shot kills you all. And that's all for the Echo of Neltharion. Congrats on your kill. Sarkareth is the final boss of Aberrus and has 3 time-based phases. In every phase, being hit by shit gives you an Oblivion stack, and when you reach 10, you're sent to the Void. Collect the soaks to get back, and the flares give you a haste buff if you're trying to pass, but if you take too long, you'll definitely fucking die. During phase 1, Oppressing Howl gives the raid a debuff you need to clear before he casts Glittering Surge, a channeled raid-wide that will stun and straight up murder you if you don't. Remove the debuff by standing in either Searing Breath, a triple frontal with a dispellable dot, or Mass Disintegrate, a blue beam that shoots lasers at a few people and gives them a slow. When removed, it deals a small hit of raid-wide and replaces it with a different dot, but at least you won't be a healing sponge. Assign groups to clear so your healers don't cry. Scorching Bombs damage anyone near them, then explode, dealing raid-wide damage, giving everyone a dot and dropping a lava pool. On heroic, there are some fire swells to dodge so don't get hit, and for tanks, Burning Claws is a hit with a stacking dot that deals raid-wide damage when it ends based on how much you take from it. Swap on every cast and mitigate as much as you can. After the second Glittering Surge, the boss starts phase 2 and sends everyone into the Void, so grab some flares and get out. Void Bombs will explode if you don't take him downstairs, so assign a few players to grab them, get 10 Oblivion stacks, and get rid of them. Desolate Blossoms are pools on the floor that give you a healing debuff, so don't stand in them unless you need to go down. The boss does an overhead breath on someone, so watch out as it's pretty quick, and it spawns a bunch of ads. The ads cast a raid-wide silence that you need to stop, and gain a stacking buff with every boss cast, making them immune to CC if they reach 10. On heroic, they also heal every second, so drag them into a Desolate Blossom pool to stop it. And they become CC immune at 5 stacks instead of 10, so they need to die faster than a hunter trying to soak without turtle. Also on heroic, Infinite Duress targets someone with a dot that does a knockback when it's dispelled. Stuck behind them before dispelling, but the knockback isn't huge. And for tanks, Void Claws Floors is similar to phase 1, but you also get a healing reduction and you deal damage to anyone nearby, so just move away before it goes off. After 3 minutes and 45 seconds, or at 40% health, you'll begin phase 3. You still get the bombs to deal with, and on Heroic you still have the knockback dispels. You get constant swell, so casters can enjoy cancelling half their spells, but they give you 5 stacks of Oblivion if you need to take a bomb to the void. Hurtling Barrage rushes a few players from the edge of the platform, so move out and don't send it through the raid. For tanks and healers, Void Slash is similar to phase 2, but it's now a frontal, so face the boss away, and the dot explosion now deals raid-wide damage, so have them jump into the void before it goes off. The boss casts Cosmic Ascension, flying up and crashing into the floor, hitting anyone in 30 yards so don't get hit. It spawns ads from phase 2, so kill them ASAP, but on Heroic you can't remove their healing buff. Go downstairs and grab some haste flares, then beat the shit out of them. It also spawns pillars around the room to line of sight Scouring Eternity, a one-shot cast that always comes from the same direction, so pay attention to the lines. And Touch of Nothingness is a huge soak on someone that also clears any pillars hit, so either help soak it or sacrifice them to the Blizzard devs. It also drops a black hole afterwards, so don't stand in it. Deal with all of that at once, then kill the boss before his ramping damage kills you all. And that's it for Sarkareth. Congrats on you're ahead of the curve. Now we can stare into the void and hope we don't kill a Ridicron in the Mega Dungeon. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed. I'll catch you in the next one.